Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. I wish I could say I predicted this would be a cool down week. I mean, I was hedging my bets last week because of Shawn Mendes' new release, and he surprised me in the past, but not this time. No, it looks like we got a bit of a breather before Taylor Swift, Jack Harlow, and Kid Cudi try to penetrate the gauntlet of holiday music that now effectively rules our Hot 100. And we really have to start in our top 10, where, as I predicted, All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey is now ruling at number 1, thanks to utter streaming dominance. The question is now how long it's gonna hold this position throughout the holidays, because honestly, I don't see the challenger. Yeah, I still like Mood by 24kGoldn featuring Ian Dior at number 2, but given how it's losing in all categories, even despite holding a healthy margin on the radio, by the end of this year, it might be very much on its way out. Then we got Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee pulling up a step to number 3 thanks to holiday streaming, which puts it above Positions by Ariana Grande at number 4, which despite even stronger radio traffic took a major dip on streaming. This track might also be in a precarious position by the time holiday music fades. Could be interesting. Then we got Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms at number 5. Again, holiday traffic, explainable, which is also the case for It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year by Andy Williams up to number 6. But then we got something interesting. Blinding Lights by The Weeknd actually rebounded to number 7, mostly because of a cheap remix to prop up one last bit of traction despite consistently losing. But it did put it above Laugh Now, Cry Later by Drake featuring Lil Durk, which fell down to number 8 thanks to a surprisingly rough week on the radio, and Holy by Justin Bieber featuring Chance the Rapper at number 9, where despite its insane radio momentum just cannot hold against better sales and having no streaming. Finally, pulling up the rear here, we got Feliz Navidad by Jose Feliciano at number 10. Yeah, if this is making the top 10, holiday music has thoroughly overwhelmed pretty much everything. And yet, when I go to our losers and dropouts, there is a part of me that doesn't mind that it's clearing away the chaff of last year, pushing a lot of 2020 into recurrence with the dropouts of Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles, Said Some by Moneybagg Yo, ILY by Surf Mesa featuring Emily, Before You Go by Louis Capaldi, and even Be Like That by Kane Brown, Sway Lee, and Khalid. Now granted, our losers are more scattered, with the most prominent coming off of the fading impact of albums. From Bad Bunny, we've got Takiti with Jay Cortez at number 17, La Noche de Anoche with Rosalia at 74, and Tu Me Daste at 99. And from Miley Cyrus's aborted boost, we also had Midnight Sky falling back to 73. Also off the debut, we saw Dick Down in Dallas by Trey Lewis shoved back to 75. And then from our continued losers, we got More Than My Hometown by Morgan Wallen at 49, WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion at 43, and Savage Love from Josh 685 and Jason Derulo at 44. I'd say the BTS correlation might have propped it up a little longer, but they also didn't have a good week at all, with Dynamite down to 24 and Life Goes On falling hard to 93. But since we are post-album bomb, we got a combination of returns and gains picking up from both holiday music and whatever can survive filling in the gaps. So for instance, our returns, we got Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney back at 45, Run Rudolph Run by Chuck Berry at 40, and everyone's favorite song about fucking Santa Claus by Ariana Grande, Santa Tell Me at 39. But along with that, we also saw Heather by Conan Gray back at 95, Practice by DaBaby at 97, and unfortunately, Put Your Records On by Rip Momney at 98. And when we look at our gains, the spread is even wider. For the holiday side, we got Last Christmas by Wham at 11, Holly Jolly Christmas by Burl Ives at 14, Christmas Baby Please Come Home by Darlene Love at 31, It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas and Home for the Holidays by Perry Como at 35 and 37 respectively, and even gains from our new arrivals last week with Under the Mistletoe from Kelly Clarkson and Brett Eldridge at 59, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree covered by Justin Bieber at 71, and Favorite Time of Year by Carrie Underwood at 80. But outside of holiday music, it's a pretty motley crew here. Whoop-Dee by CJ somehow still gaining at 51, Tyler Hero by Jack Harlow hit 77, gives me the impression his album bomb might actually happen. Good Time by Nico Moon hit 79, Hole in the Bottle by Kelsey Ballerini clawed back to 87, and Bichota by Karol G hit 89. But that leads to our new arrivals. Spoilers, about half these are holiday songs, so we're actually going to start with number 100, Silent Night by Carrie Underwood.
Holy
I mean, if you're covering Silent Night, there's only a couple things you need to do right. Don't oversell it in the arrangement, keep it low key, maybe don't go full hymnal, but it's a deceptively difficult carol to sing, especially for the passage at the end of each verse. Unfortunately, that sense of subtlety doesn't really translate for Carrie Underwood, shocker, who brings up the full strings passage for the third verse so she can open up and belt with as much vibrato as thinks that she can get away with, even if I do think that it was nice that she eased back for the very end. That's the right choice. What bothers me here is that Carrie Underwood's vocals still feel very awkwardly produced. Not only does she sound unsupported in the mix, there's something about her timbres that's not hitting as cleanly as it usually does. Maybe it's mic placement or the range they're focusing in on. It just doesn't sound as good as it should. That being said, it's me nitpicking. Otherwise, it's another cover of Silent Night. It's fine. Check it out if you're curious. Number 96, Hallelujah by Carrie Underwood and John Legend.
Silent night as the angels sing hallelujah, hallelujah.
Am I the only one kind of weirded out that Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah has just now become a Christmas standard, more because of vague allusions to religion than anything else in the content? It was weird with Pentatonics a couple of years ago, it's just as weird with Carrie Underwood and John Legend, except this isn't that song at all. It's an original duet that John Legend co-wrote. Now I'll say this, off the spare piano backdrop, I do think Carrie Underwood and John Legend have decent enough chemistry and are better balanced than I would have expected, even if John Legend's falsetto is an odd choice. But even going a little deeper, I find this sort of Christmas music really falls flat for me, especially in trying to blend the peace on earth, quasi-biblical material with the let's find warmth in each other on a winter's night. Just feels more sterile than it should, putting me more in the mind of modern Christian music, including some of the questionable vocal mixing, and my soul is distinctly not stirred by this. I mean, it's fine enough, I guess, but I won't care about it in record time. Next, number 88, Take Me Home for Christmas by Dan and Shay.
Oh, you'll check every box off of my list if you take me home for Christmas.
Look, I'm not even surprised Dan and Shay put out a Christmas song. For their brand of safe, white bread pop country, holiday music's practically inevitable. So with this being their first original cut, and wow, if you wanted them to make the sort of jaunty material with a snap beat, questionably synthetic backing vocals, and prime for the cheesiest sort of modern Hallmark movie, this is it. But here's the odd thing. Even with that, you can tell they were trying a little harder with this, and I actually found myself kind of warming to it. The little guitar solo was a little more developed than it had any right to be. There was some warmth in the rollicking arrangement even before the key change at the end, and there's a bit more to the content too, where they're talking about going to visit their partner's family and hometowns for the holidays. Where I think the song's got a bit more character comes in the second verse, where it's a little bit more jittery as they go drinking with old friends and try to follow along with unfamiliar family traditions. I mean, in other words, it falls into the territory of the Dan and Shay songs I actually like, where if you're not on board with the formula, you're gonna find them too sterile, treacly, and a little bit too chipper, but if you are, they aim a little higher than they need to, and this turned out nice as a result. I'll take it. Number 76, Oh Santa by Mariah Carey featuring Ariana Grande and Jennifer Hudson. Okay, backstory. In 2010, Mariah Carey wrote and released a song called Oh Santa, tied into a follow-up Christmas album, clearly trying to recapture the magic of All I Want for Christmas Is You. It didn't really become the perennial holiday standard, though, so now we got a remix 10 years later with Ariana Grande and Jennifer Hudson. Now, because I didn't review the original at any point, let me say that it might have been wishful thinking to assume the original Oh Santa might have worked, because it's very 2010 R&B. The flat clap beat and the leaden percussion, the melody outside of the bells getting subsumed into an overlayered cushion of vocals. It also feels very shouty and in your face, which is exactly what you want for this holiday season. Just a shame the remix has much of the same vibe in its arrangement, just as more distinctive vocal textures which might fill out the mix with a little bit more color. And to her credit, Ariana's trying to underplay things, make the song a bit more sensual, but that takes us to the content, which the song is all about begging Santa to get her ex to leave his current girl and then come back to her, and yet it would not be hard to escape the feeling that they might want to fuck Santa at some point along the way. Again, this doesn't come close to evoking holiday cheer for me. It's clunky, it feels like a collaborative cash grab, and I don't have much patience for that. Let's move on. Number 72, Real Shit by Juice WRLD and Benny Blanco.
Real shit, never tell a lie. Real shit, never tell a lie.
Now granted, if the alternative is Benny Blanco trying to milk Juice WRLD's posthumous career, I have considerably less patience. Now from interviews it did suggest that Benny Blanco and Juice WRLD did work together on this, so it's a cut above your standard posthumous cash grab, where Juice WRLD here is bragging about good living, getting money, and all the women he's sleeping with fighting with each other, and he's gonna make her cry. Now granted, this is also the song where he says she looked like a trampoline from the way she bouncing, so we're not dealing with the best content here, and honestly I'm not really digging the production either. The shuffling stutter of the guitars before they get swamped out against the blown out trap beat, it's more whirring texture than tune, and the mix can feel simultaneously both under and over mixed for as often as Benny Blanco's gonna drop out the beat. I don't know, I don't hate it, but I just don't think it's really good either. Just saying. Number 63, Without You by Kid LAROI.
Bleed internally, left here without you, without you.
Now granted, if the other option is Juice WRLD's protege working to rip him off expeditiously on an acoustic breakup ballad that features both the lines, "You cut out a piece of me and now I bleed internally," and "can't make a wife out of a hoe," maybe we should be grateful for small blessings. And what's all the more obnoxious is that this song is rooted in Kid LAROI doing something toxic and stupid, she leaves, as apparently she has done many times before, and then he tries for a huge cloying guilt trip where he gets dumped again. Again, it's just toxic and manipulative, and since it's all backed up with a willowy acoustic guitar, it's plainly trying to frame itself as more sincere and just cannot stick the landing. And if that was intentional, I could see that as the one defense of this crap, but that would imply any degree of complexity in the writing that Kid LAROI has never shown. So yeah, it's crap. Next, number 41, Errbody by Lil Baby.
I don't care about it, boy. You play, you gon' die from everybody. Leave some blood on the street, like some red bottoms. Hard to hell, but I wish that they had shot us. My nigga alone. I used to.
So I've actually been thinking a lot about Lil Baby in the past few weeks as I sort through hits from my best and worst of 2020. And while I'm more tolerant of him now, I still don't really think I'd call myself a fan. I don't love his beat choices, he can be very inconsistent in the content, and his voice only seems to work with me in specific scenarios. But it's not even so much that I dislike him, it's just I find him a little dull, not particularly gripping, especially compared to some of his peers. Anyway, this is the first of two singles he dropped ahead of his next album coming, and, well, the production doesn't give me much to work with, and the washed out melody behind the sandy but rote trap percussion, and I can't say the content impresses me either. It's more flexing about how successful he is, moving past haters, brand names, drinking lean, with the lines that I like, more focusing on him not hitting up girls to spare the boyfriends, or how people shouldn't beef over trifling crap in women when apparently he's all above it. I guess if that's true, he could move past the gloating and say something interesting here, but that's apparently a step or two too many from this. The frustrating thing again, it's not even bad, but he's made this song 4 or 5 times already. It just doesn't do much for me. Let's move on. And finally, number 31, On Me by Lil Baby.
If I like it, I spend money on it. Get whatever from me. Put 6 figures in your business. I do real shit. I drop cash at the dealership. They'll mail your pink slip.
So this is the other single he dropped. And look, even he described this as a track he threw together bored in his house, and it sure as hell feels like it. Desaturated piano, stale trap beat, brand name bragging, talking about actually saving money more than flexing, unless of course he's spending it on his girl. I guess this is where I'm supposed to mention that the last song referenced said girlfriend by name as they go on trips together, and that the timing of these songs reaffirming their commitment might seem suspicious given that an adult entertainer reportedly outed Lil Baby as cheating, and apparently that can't be a coincidence. Honestly, even with these two songs, I doubt you could even tell that he's smoothing anything over, because he's got the same flat nasal inflection that makes his material run together so much. He's barely capitalizing off the drama in his performance. Again, I can't even say it's bad so much as it's just kind of dull. I've heard it before from him. But if he's framing these as the lead-off singles, you know what, honestly, it's worked for him before, could work again, but this formula does have diminishing returns. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, that was our week. Somehow I'm stuck thinking that if we got a Shawn Mendes album, it could have wound up being more interesting than what we got, but for our best, I'm actually going to give it to Take Me Home for Christmas by Dan and Shay, and that I don't mind this formula, and it kind of worked. With honorable mention actually going to Carrie Underwood's cover of Silent Night. Again, she had to get a few things right, and she mostly did. The worst of the week, yeah, Without You by Kid LAROI. Dishonourable mention going to the, sadly, the late Juice WRLD and Benny Blanco for Real Shit. This is one that could have been left on the shelf, Benny Blanco. All I'm saying, it's not good. Next week, we could actually well have some chaos between Taylor Swift, Kid Cudi, and Jack Harlow in the uphill battle against holiday music, so who knows what's gonna happen. Stay tuned for it. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.